Okay, welcome everyone to our Routing, Switching Essentials Instructor Training class for 11/8/17. Today we're going to talk about one of the most important chapters in Routing, Switching Essentials, which is access control lists. And the reason I say they're very important is because they are used consistently throughout the Cisco iOS for all types of things. They're used for, obviously, one of their purposes is to control traffic, to do security, traffic shaping. You can do everything from route distribution lists and redistribution. You can control access to a VTY line. They're used to define interesting traffic in VPN access control lists. So all kind of crazy things that ACLs can be used for and are used for inside of Cisco iOS. Route maps, everything from there. But we're going to talk about, and I get tickled because I feel like I'm becoming an old man when I say kids these days. Well, instructors these days, you only have to worry about standard and extended access control lists. In fact, all we really do is standard at this point in the CCNA. Back in the very beginning of the Cisco CCNA curriculum, we actually had to learn standard, extended access control lists, both numbered and named. We had to learn IPX, SPX. We had to learn, it was crazy. But thank goodness we don't have to do that anymore. But today we're going to talk about, not binary, but we're going to talk about access control lists, or ACLs. And one of the things I want you to realize is an ACL is simply a permit or deny statement. That's their main purpose. They are applied top down in a sequential order. And that's very important when you start writing these things. Okay. You can have one ACL per protocol, per port, per direction. We're going to learn about that. There's two directions, basically in and out. We'll learn about those. Okay. So permitted deny statements applied top down in a sequential order, and you can have one ACL per protocol, per port, per direction. Now, the number one thing that most people think about ACLs is they immediately think security, which I don't disagree with. You know, an ACL can limit traffic. It can, but it's not just for security reasons. And I think that's one thing that people need to realize. You know, if you've got this network right here, and you have this subnet over here, and off of S1, and for whatever reason, this network never really needs to access anything over on the HR subnet or even down on S3's network. Yes, it is security to block that traffic from going out or going to R3, but it is also traffic management and traffic shaping, because you're not allowing traffic that would just get dropped over here to actually traverse the network and then get dropped. So it doesn't do just security. Now, because it is a series of permit and deny statements, we do consider it most of the times, first and foremost, as a security item. Now, one thing I will put in here too is the first ACE, and ACE is the access control entry, which is a list or an item in the access control list, which is very familiar if you've used Windows at all, because they use the term ACE too. The first ACE to apply to a packet is used, and that's going to be important as we start doing our pseudocode and things, because we can mess up very quickly if we don't realize that. And then last but not least is all ACLs end in an implicit deny all. In other words, if you do not permit, so in other words, let's imagine this. I write an ACL. This is pseudocode, by the way. I'm not writing an actual ACL, but let's say I create an access list, and I say on access list 1, deny host A. And that's all I put in, nothing else. And I apply that to an interface. And that's one thing we'll learn about ACLs here in just a minute, folks, is it's a two-part process. One, you create the ACL. Create the ACL, and then two, you apply the ACL to an interface. And we'll learn in or out the direction. But let's say I create this list and I apply it to an interface. Well, the problem is, what's at the end of this access control list? An implicit deny all. And so I meant to just deny host A, but unless I put something else in here, everybody gets denied. You would actually have to put in access list, and again, this is pseudocode, it's not the real thing. Permit any. All right, or permit all. Okay. Permit any actually would work, because that's actually pseudocode for quad 0, quad 255. So be aware of that. That is something that bites people all the time, is when they forget that an ACL has an implicit deny all at the end of it. Now, the difference between explicit and implicit is when you do a show access list 1, if you didn't put in this statement, you're not going to see that deny all at the end because it's implicit. It's not shown. So we do packet filtering. We do layer 3, layer 4 packet filtering. What we're doing right now with standard ACLs, standard access control lists, we're doing just packet filtering at layer 3 because we can filter with standard based only on the source addresses, source IP addresses. We will get into extended ACLs in later courses, so in the materials for CCNA 3 and 4, scaling and connecting networks. For CCNA, all you need to know is standard ACLs, which is kind of nice. Okay. Now, how do we determine the direction? What I always tell people is, imagine there's a person sitting in the middle of the router. Inbound and outbound is always based upon a person sitting dead center in the router. So if there's an interface here and traffic's coming this way, it's inbound. If it's going this way, it's outbound. If it's coming towards the router from this side on the right, that's inbound. So it's not, you don't look at anything else other than there's a person sitting in this router, and inbound and outbound is always from their perspective. I call it the man in the router, or woman, or person, or however you want to say it. Does that make sense? Any questions on that?
Kelly, I'm still trying to get over the extended access list. I've been teaching that in my SEC 150 class.
Yeah, extended ACLs, they made it a whole lot easier. Now, it is in scaling and connecting. So they are part of the CCNA, but they're just not part of the first part. Now, ACLs do use a weird beast called a wildcard mask. We just discussed subnet masks. In a subnet mask, the significant bit is a 1. In other words, the important bit is a 1. In a wildcard mask, the important bit is the 0. It is also important to note that a wildcard mask really is not that important by itself. So if I give you the wildcard mask 0.0.0.255, what that tells me is the significant bit positions are these first 3 octets. But it doesn't tell me what's going to match an ACL or an access control list. The wildcard mask is really only significant when it is paired with a preceding IP address. Now this tells me if I did access list 1 permit that, this tells me that any packet that has 192.168.12 in the first 3 octets will be permitted. Everything else will be denied. So the wildcard mask has zeros in the important bit position. But by itself, other than just telling you what positions are significant, it's kind of useless. You must take the wildcard mask and look at the preceding IP address to determine what will actually be permitted or denied. So, we got an example. We got all zeros, it means max all address bits. So if I was going to do a single host or I want an access control list to only permit a single host, let's say 1212. Okay. My mask would be this. Access list 1 permit 192.168.12.0.0.0.0. You want to match that one particular host, right? You can also then do weird masks like this 0, 0, 0, and ignore the last 6 bits, ignore the last 4 bits. You could, if you only want even or odd, you could ignore everything except for the you can do this. You can actually do. You want to permit only even addresses. You do 254 or 254, and then make the preceding address an even number, and then that says what's got to match is it has to be a 192.168.12, and then anything in the 4th octet that has a 0 in the first bit position, okay? Because remember, 254 is, let me go out here and do this for you. 254 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the only significant bit position in the 4th octet is that 0. So I go back and look at the 4th octet and I go, okay, so the 4th octet is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the 4th octet has to be a 0. And now you'll see that 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, anything that is an even IP address would be permitted. Anything that is an odd IP address would not be omitted because that position would be a 1 instead of a 0. So the wildcard mask means if there's a 0 on the position, it must match the IP address that's being used to compare it to. If there's a 1, you ignore that position. Does that make sense?
Yes. So now, in the class 0, the course is going back to our similar to the flag 32.
Correct. Quad 0 means everything must match. Yeah. If you say this, if you say that, then it's saying that only the address 192.168.12.2 would be matched. Everything else would be denied. And it would be denied because of the explicit denial. Okay. So again, we got the address 192.168.10.0, wildcard mask of 0.0.255.255. This would only match any address that has 192.168 in the first 2 block text. Because you compare the wildcard mask to the preceding IP address to get what should be matched. We'll talk a little bit about IPv6 and the fact that IPv6, they don't use wildcard mask, they use prefixes. But for now, we're going to do a wildcard mask. Here we have some more matching a single host, all zeros, matching anything, okay, it's putting all ones. This basically says we don't care anything that comes through can be matched. And this is anything that's in the 1.0 network. Okay. And then here's an example matching ranges. So if you do 0 to 31, you can actually set up the 15 range. What you'll find out is you just find out what the variable is right here for your range of subnets, and that variable is what you use for the actual number range inside that for the wildcard mask. So you take the subnet, subtract what would be a subnet mask from 255, and that will give you your wildcard mask.
Now,
that is something that's important. If you ever need to know what the wildcard mask is for an IP address, just subtract the subnet mask from quad, all 255s.
Okay, yeah.
So here it is. If your mask is this, subtract it from that, and you get 0.00025. If you have the subnet of 255.240, it would be 0.000.15, and so on and so forth. So you just subtract your subnet mask from all 255s, and that will give you your wildcard mask. Now there are some keywords instead of using quad zeros, you can say host. So I could say permit host 192.168.10.10, and that assumes a wildcard mask of quad zeros. Okay. Or you can do any, and any is a wildcard mask of all ones. So that means ignore all the bit positions. So those are very important because they make writing access control is easier. So here's an example. Access list 1 permit quad 0 quad 255 means permit anything. Well, you can write that as access list 1 permit any, which replaces all that typing with this one keyword. Likewise, you could do permit the host 1010 quad 0, or just put in the word host and then the host IP address. It's kind of neat. General guidelines. You can have one ACL per protocol, per direction, per interface. And that's per port. So let's say per protocol, per direction, per port. And that is you can have an IPv4 in and an IPv4 out. By the way, this is a little bit misleading because there's an interface on the left-hand side. You can have an outgoing and an ingoing IPv4, and there's an interface on the other side. You can have an outgoing and ingoing. So you can actually, in this example, there was a gigabit 00 on the left and a gig 01 on the right. You could have up to 4 IPv4 ACLs, 2 in for each one and 2 out for each one, basically 1 in, 1 in, 1 in, and 1 out, 1 out. And then the same for IPv6. So it's just on a single interface. You cannot have more than one in and 1 out per protocol. And remember the person and the router. That's what we're thinking about, what we're talking about in terms of direction.